Hello, third grade. I want to read Mumbet's Declaration of Independence, and that will be in this video slide. But I wanted to also just go through some of the slides with you. So I'm going to read them. So here's our title slide. And it says, we learn about the Founding Fathers and their writing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776, but not everyone was included in that right to freedom. Mumbet, a Massachusetts enslaved woman, believed in her right to be free, and she did something about it. So I'm going to be reading her story, which is told here in the picture book, Mumbet's Declaration of Independence. But I wanted to go through a couple of the other slides before you get to the story. So let's see if I can, there we go, slide 2. So we know about the Declaration of Independence, but the question we're going to explore this week is, what did that mean? Whose independence? And what is liberty? What is freedom? Will these laws and ideals really apply to all people? This is a question that people at that time legitimately had the right to ask. If you were a person of color or a woman or a white man who did not own property, so you weren't wealthy enough or educated enough, you weren't really a part of this declaration, the so-called Declaration of Independence. And so yes, this is an extremely important document, and it's what led us to where we are today. But at that time, there were people who are not a part of the process. And so we want to just make sure that you're aware of that, so that when you're thinking about our history as a nation, that you're aware that this declaration to King George saying we colonies want to be free and independent, that was true, but it also referred to some very specific landowning white men and their families. And you could say then their property. So if they were owning people, whoops, we're moving around, there we go back. At that time, not everybody was considered to be free and independent. And so we want to explore that this week. All right, slide 3. Here we go. So I will be reading the story, Mumbet's Declaration of Independence. So make sure you click on this screen here, specifically this picture, and to listen to Ms. Meader read Mumbet's story and how she gained her freedom. And then I want to point out that this small portrait, and it's actually very small, it's the size of what's in the slide. You can actually look at this if you go to the Massachusetts Historical Society, which is right in Boston. So that's pretty cool if you have a chance once they open up again after the virus has run its course. But I want to point out, and this is in the story as well that I'll be reading, but Mumbet's real name was Elizabeth Freeman. She chooses that name once she gains her freedom. So it's interesting. She must have been thinking about that with her last name. And she was the first African-American woman to file a lawsuit and win her freedom in Massachusetts. So incredibly special situation to be the first woman, African-American enslaved woman, to gain her freedom through the legal process. And this happened in 1781, which was 2 years before Massachusetts officially abolished slavery, which happened in 1783. So it's something to know that Massachusetts did decide in 1783 that slavery was unjust and should be abolished, should not be considered legal. And so that's just something that's good to know about the state of Massachusetts, because it wasn't until the Civil War in the 1800s that finally our nation abolishes slavery. So Massachusetts was, by quite a few years, by what, 50 years? Yeah, at least, ahead of that decision. So that's something to be thoughtful of as well. And then if you have a chance, I would love to get out to the Berkshires. Stockbridge, Massachusetts is in western part of our state. This is Mumbet's, or Elizabeth Freeman's, headstone where she's buried. And I have not been there, and I would like to do that when I can travel again. But this is what her gravestone reads. Elizabeth Freeman, known by the name of Mumbet, died December 28th, 1829. Her supposed age was 85 years. She was born a slave and remained a slave for nearly 30 years. She could neither read nor write, yet in her own sphere, so her own world, she had no superior nor equal. She neither wasted time nor property. She never violated a trust nor failed to perform a duty. In every situation of domestic trial, she was the most efficient helper and the tenderest friend. Good mother, farewell. So I just wanted to share that, because this is something that, and she should be honored for the way that she paved for others to gain their freedom and realize that, yes, it can be done. And she was one of the people that helped others understand that there's no reason any human should be enslaved to another human. So please do click on the slide so that you can hear the story. And I think that's the end of what I was going to share here. So I'm going to do the stop or pause. Let's see. How do I do this? Stop recording. There we go.